Hey y'all, happy Monday. Thanks for joining me for a craft night with friends. My name is Alyssa Thomas from Penguin and Fish, where we make cute embroideries for beginners, and I'm here every weeknight at 8:30 p.m. Central Time, and it's a time that we can relax and craft together. So tonight we are starting our next embroidery of the month. It is the Winter Love Snowflake Embroidery, and we got it our example piece done here. So we are going to start that tonight. I think we'll be doing a pile of chain stitches. That'll be kind of fun. So all right, let's get going. Okay, so here is our kit for this. I'm going to open this up, and this is what we'll be working from tonight. Let me scoot you over here. Okay, so, geez, let's see what we got in here. And I'll shimmy you guys down up here too for the evening. All right. So I hope everyone had a great weekend. I feel like it's like Thursday already. It's not. Like it was just kind of a surprise to me. Like, what? It's Monday? Just Monday? All right. There we go. Getting all the supplies out here. Okay, so hoop. Got our floss. There's 2 of the winter mornings because we're actually going to use quite a bit of it, and I want to make sure that you guys have enough. All right, and our little instruction booklet. Okay, so I have my needle in here, and here is our pre-printed fabric all ready to go with the Winter Love on there. So this is like another mandala. I know people liked our last mandala decorative embroidery, so I'm hoping to do more of these. So this is our kind of winter version of that. I'm gonna keep this. This is also the cover of the pattern. It slides out, and on the back is the instructions, like what stitches we'll be using and the stitch and color guide. This tells us what colors to use and also what stitches to use. So I'm gonna keep this nearby, and this is what I'm gonna be going on. So we're using the satin stitch, that's these little dots here, French knots scattered about, chain stitch, that's going to be the thick lines, that's this, it shows up as white here, or of gray here, but it represents white. And then we have the lazy daisy stitch, that's for these little bits here, and the back stitch. So, all right, that is our game plan here. I'm going to leave this nearby so I can keep checking on it. But we can get started right away because we have our pattern on here already. So I think I'm going to start with this chain stitch on the inside here, just because I love doing the chain stitch. I think it's really fun. But here's our example. For the example here, just for fun, I went... I guess I did. I thought I went under and over some of these, but I went over with the blue, like over the white chain stitches. So the back stitches, the blue back stitches are on top of it. So I want to do the thing that's like furthest back first. So I'm gonna do the white, and that's gonna allow me to have a lot of places to weave in the ends as well once I get going with it. So that is my thought here. So I'm going to get this in the hoop. And we have a little ribbon to decorate it with later. So we'll be doing that. Oh, Sylvia, thank you. Sylvia says it's a beautiful pattern. I appreciate that. Ooh, you're on a ferry to the city, off to Fairbanks. To visit a daughter. Oh, fun! A lot of ferrying in Alaska. All right, there we go. I'm going to center this a little bit more. It probably doesn't need to be centered. We'll if you're going to hang it in the hoop, you can place it in the center later. But I don't know. I get a little like tweaky if it's not like right in the center. So we'll center it here and if it moves or if I take it out, I can always recenter it. So it's not the end of the world if you don't center it at this point. So I'm stretching it in this hoop. I'm not really stretching it, but I'm getting it so there's no like really loose areas. I don't want to like really pull too much on it or anything like that. Like I'm not like stretching it, I'm just getting it kind of taut. And in a case like this, it has like a circular feel to it, so if anything feels stretched funny, you can totally kind of stretch it the other way to get it more circular. But all right, I think we're good there. All right, let's get our first floss. So one last thing I need to know is how many strands, and this one is saying use 3 strands of floss. Oh, Nora says this one is my favorite. Yay! Okay, cool. So the floss, so 3 strands of floss, what that means is, first of all, we have to know what we're talking about with the floss. We're using 6-strand embroidery floss, which is the typical thing for embroidery floss. And what that means is that it's 6, like the thread, the embroidery thread here, it's made up of 6 strands of smaller threads that are actually easy to pull apart. And that's on purpose because you can actually divide these threads. So like, you know, instead of 6 threads, which is, I got 6 in here, I can use just, I can use like 1, I could use 2, I could use any amount of threads, and it is gonna give us a different thickness of our stitch. So I'm going to stitch with 3 strands. That's what the instructions said, 3 strands, which means I got to divide the 6 strands into 3. So 2 sets of 3. So it'll just give me a thinner line than how bulky the 6 strands would be. So all right, I'm going to just tap the end of it a little bit to separate away one of the strands. And I'm going to just hold the thread in between my fingers, and once I just have 1 strand, I'm going to pull, and it should come right out. I'm starting with about, I don't know, 18 to 24 inches here, so it should be relatively easy to pull a thread out. There we go. There's our 3, and then we have a second one of 3 ready to go for when this runs out. So we'll be stitching this white, which will be pretty light, obviously, on our fabric, but our fabric is this kind of unbleached off-white, so the white should show up really pretty on it, I think. All right, so I put my strands, just place the strands back together here, and now I'm going to thread. Did it snow for our Winter Love embroidery? Gretchen, it did. So I think, was it Friday? It was either... It was Friday. I think Friday was our first snow, and I've been walking outside every day. It's my goal to like go on a 4 o'clock walk every single day, no matter what the weather. If it's raining, if it's like blizzarding, whatever, I'm gonna do it. So I got a walk in our first snow. I think it was Friday. It might have been Saturday, but I think it might have been Friday. So that was really, really fun. Okay, so I got my thread in my needle here. I'm going to start with this loop. That's the chain stitch. I think I'm actually going to do the reverse chain stitch here because I know a lot of you guys really like the reverse chain stitch, and it is easy. I do love the reverse chain stitch. So let's start our thread off. I'm going to start by tying a knot. We're going to do the away knot method of this design here, of starting a piece of floss. I'm doing this because I don't have any other floss on the embroidery right now to weave into. So first is tying a knot on the back. I like my backs to have no knots so I don't accidentally catch on. My thread doesn't catch on the knot. So all right, I'm gonna start like 4 inches or so away from where my starting point is gonna be. Excuse me. And I'm just gonna start on like one of these kind of inside loops just because it's more of a straight edge than like this tight little loop, so it'll be a little bit easier. So let's just start here. So I'm gonna go like 4 inches away from that or so. Let's start way over here. and I'm going to go from the front to the back. We'll be wasting a little bit of floss at the beginning, but it's like 0.00003 cents, I'm sure, this little bit. And I like it just for the sake of not having knots in the back. So I'm making a knot on the front instead, and then I'm going to start with my first stitch. I was going to start up here. All right. So this is for the reverse chain stitch. And what we're doing with that away knot is we're basically reserving some floss for later here. So we're going to ignore that for a few minutes here while I use up the thread, but we will come back to that, so be aware for that. Okay, so a reverse chain stitch. So I want to show you the chain stitch that we have on here. So a normal chain stitch, you would start by making these loops, and you'd just you'd start and end in the same point, and then you'd come up through the loop, and you'd keep doing that. And then when you're done with the row, you'd make a tiny little stitch at the end to hold down the loop. We're going to actually work backwards for a reverse chain stitch. So I'm going to actually start with that loop, or start with that anchor stitch, and then do the loops backwards. So, and here's what I mean by this. So again, this is the reverse chain stitch. All right, so I'm going to start with a tiny, tiny stitch. This is going to be my anchor stitch. So there's my tiny stitch, and then I'm going to come up for my first chain stitch. So I'm going to go maybe about 1/8 of an inch away or so is about how big my stitches are for this. All right, I'm going to go underneath that little anchor stitch, so I might have to pick it up a little bit. There we are. I'm going to get the needle in there, and we'll tighten it back up. Pull it through, make sure that anchor stitch is still tight. And then I'm going to go back in that same hole that this stitch started out. And don't pull too tight. Let it be a little teardrop shape. Don't let it be lazy. Don't pull it too tight. So, and then that's our first little chain stitch there for the reverse chain stitch. So now that's the first one. We have to do, like, that's different than all the rest of them. But now from here on out, all our stitches will be the same. And we're going to come up, a little ways away again. This is our second stitch, so, about that 1/8 inch away again. Pull through, and now I can just take the needle and go underneath the 2 threads from the last stitch. So I'm not even going into the fabric. I'm just going underneath that needle, or underneath those 2 stitches. I'm going to pull through and leave it loose again, and then I'm going to go right back into that hole, the first hole. And we're basically making a loop around that last loop there. And that's all there is to it. That is the reverse chain stitch. So we're very literally doing the chain stitch, the normal chain stitch in reverse. But the nice thing is that I don't have to make these loops that fly all over the place, that get really floppy. If you've done the chain stitch before, then you know kind of what I'm talking about. So this kind of gets rid of all that. I just swoop underneath the 2 that came before. And there we go. And it doesn't matter what side you swoop underneath with. So here I'm going to go from the bottom to the top. Doesn't matter. Whew, this is fun. So then I'm just going to go around and around and around and around. So I'll probably be doing this for the evening. This chain stitch takes a pile of thread and a little time, but it's one of my favorite stitches. It just reminds me of crochet, and there's so many thread crafts that have a chain stitch, and it literally looks like a real chain stitch that we've just kind of laid on the fabric. So it's just kind of fun. I like it. I usually make my stitches a little smaller when I'm going around tight curves, and this is like a really tight curve, these small little loops. So they get a little bit smaller at the tippity top. And then I let them get a little bit bigger on these kind of more straightaways. How long to do one of these. So this will take me about the week. I'm going to be here every day this week, Monday through Friday, at 8:30 p.m. Central for an hour. So it will take me those 5 days. It might take me a hair more, but I think I've kind of timed this one. They usually take us about the week. Every once in a while, the embroideries go a little bit faster, but I think this one will probably take through Friday, so about 5 hours. I kind of like saying it's like a two movie project. This one might be like a 3 movie project. It's for some good binge watching. You know, a season of some binge watching. Maybe not quite a season of something. But yeah, so about 5 hours, I'm thinking. So I'll do an hour a day here. And I try and go pretty quick. So if it takes longer, that's totally fine. I have the week dedicated to work on this, so that's why I'm like, ooh, I better go fast enough to get it done in the week. We'll see. All right, I'm going around my second loop here. So this is not quite of a tight curve, so I'll keep my stitches kind of my normal size here, but when I get to where it goes tightly around the arc, I think I'll make them a little bit smaller. Oh, you had snow and then it rained a few days. We haven't had rain. It's been wet, but I think it's just the snow melting a little bit. But we had big poofy flakes fall. So pretty, and it's still not that cold out or anything, so it's just been really, really nice for my walks, my habit building walks. So that's been fun. I'm really excited to try and keep that up. I don't keep things up very well. This is the one thing that I've kept up, you guys, is these lives. And that's actually was the beginning reason of the lives, was that like I just kept stopping everything after a few weeks or whatever, and I'm like, my word of the year has to be like consistency, so I started doing these lives like at the beginning of when lives first were a thing, on Facebook. And it's the only thing I've kind of stuck with here. And John, I've stuck with John. So, embroidery, lives, and John I've stuck with. 3 things. All right, loop number 2. And this is what's so neat about chain stitch too, is that you can actually see like it loop over the top of the last one, so you get like this kind of 3 dimensions going with it. I think that's really pretty. So I'm almost out of floss here. So I hardly got anything done, just because that floss on chain stitch doesn't last very long. Kara's asking, how do you do a back without knots? So I will show you for sure. So how we started this, just if you're just popping in, I started with an away knot, and I do this when I don't have any other stitches on the board, on the fabric. So you can see it down here. It's just a knot that I made, and I go from the front to the back, and then I started way up here. So I actually have on reserve like 4 inches of floss right here. I will be coming to that in a second here. So this is how I start. When I'm using 3 strands of thread, I do something a little bit different when I'm doing 2 strands of floss. I use thread and floss interchangeably, so if I keep saying thread, I actually mean embroidery floss. All right, I think this is gonna be my last stitch here, just because maybe I can get one more. Just because I'm almost out of floss here. Ooh, this was a stretch. Okay, so this is going to be my last stitch. So here's how I do it, the back without knots. I weave in the ends instead. So here I got about 4 inches or so left. And so now I'm just going to weave back and forth behind some stitches that are already there. So about, half, I'm making weird noises tonight, about a half of an inch to an inch or so. This just seems like a decent place to stop here. So I'll actually go back and forth 3 times. That third time kind of locks it in. It's kind of like you're making a big long knot instead of a tiny knot. So I'm going to try and I'm going to go in a different configuration than I did the first pass. I'm going to try and get as many little threads as I can. And then the one more is going to be my last pass. So there we go, like 3 times. And then I can actually snip really close to the stitches as well. So there we go. So that's my, here, let's get in focus. There we go. That's my back with that's without tying a knot. So it's just like woven in. There's no knots that I can accidentally catch on. Like it's horrible, like when you're stitching and then it catches on a knot and then you got this big bloop on the back that you didn't know about for like 40 stitches. So this gets rid of it altogether. There's no little threads that pop through to the front because I snipped it close there. And we just have a nice tucked in end there. And then my next bit will, I'll weave in right there. Kara's asking, how secure do you find, or how secure is it if you had to wash the fabric? I've had 0 problem. It's possibly even that it's more secure. That's what I've kind of found, because if you just have a little knot, sometimes if you rub on that knot or get it wet, sometimes it actually loosens the knot. In this case, it doesn't do that. So it's still kind of like tying a knot. It's just a long knot. I have never had one of these loosen or like find its way out. You do have to do those 3 back and forth. So I think that's the best. Then you can pull on it and it won't come out. That third time kind of locks it in. I have 0 problems. I've never had a problem with it. The weaving in the ends here. So all right, now you guys, I'm going to go back to our starting bit where we put that on reserve. I am going to now snip away that little away knot. So that's garbage, don't need him. And then on the back, now we've released basically another little 4 inches of floss for us. So I'm gonna thread that. I only do this away knot, this like reserving the thread right at the beginning when I don't have any other stitches to weave into the back of, or if I'm starting a different color that's like way far away from the other stitches or something, maybe I'll do the away knot again. Otherwise, I'll just weave in the backs of stitches like what I'm doing right now. And oops, almost lost my thread here. So that's the second pass, one more. That's what I'm going to do with my next piece of white floss here. And then again, I don't have to leave this. I can cut it after the 3. I can cut it right real close. So that's, oh, thanks, Kara. Yeah, give it a try. This is how it looks. Here's my finished one that I did for the sample, and you can see there's no knots at all on the back. I did jump around quite a bit, which I don't do all the time, but I don't have any knots on here, so nothing got caught on any knots or anything like that. Angelo's asking, or Angel of Music, not Angelo, Angel of Music. It's one of our patterns from Penguin and Fish. So this is our new. So this is my design. It's our new embroidery of embroidery of the month. I don't think I showed the front of this. So this is what the final one will look like. And the kit comes with everything except for a scissors. Basically, it comes pre-printed like this as well. All right. So I have my other 3 strands of thread here from when we cut our first strand. So I don't have to split those threads like I did with this first one. Oops, out of here, fuzzle. So I'm going to just go ahead and thread this right away. I'm using that pinch method. I didn't show this yet, I don't think. So first thing you want to do for the pinch method, and anytime you want to thread a needle, just snip the end, clean that needle up, or clean that thread up, I mean, just that tip. And I use the pinch method most of the time, and that's where I kind of squish together the ends. I put it in like I'm pinching my fingers together, and if I slowly unpinch there, the moment I can see that little piece of floss there, the moment it is revealed, just I can barely see it, then I stick my needle, the eye of the needle, over the top, and I kind of push down, and I can keep opening it, and it kind of pushes the thread right into the eye of the needle, and then I can just kind of grab the other side and pull. So that's the pinch method. I'll do it again. Kind of squish those together, get in my pinch, and the moment I see it, just push over on top. And if it's fraying a little bit like that, just snip the ends again to clean it up. All right, so this is where I left off. I'm going to start up there again. Yeah, so there's a link to this pattern in my profile, and there's a discount too. The TikTok 20 or Insta 20. Or wait, TikTok 15. I don't remember. It's in there. I don't, naturally, Nicole, I don't necessarily give classes. However, I'm live every night, so it's almost like a class every night. And all of the videos are up on my YouTube, and I go through some basics and stuff on YouTube as well. We have kind of a free course that is, oh, thanks for the rose. We have a free course that's shows 14 different stitches, and you get an email every day with one of the stitches. It's our free Stitching Raccoon sampler. So if you go to Penguin and Fish, you'll see that right away. It's our free sampler. So it's a whole design, plus you learn how to do all of the stitches. Well, not all the stitches, but 14 different stitches at the bottom, and then you can practice it. You can use it in the design. And you get an email every day on how to do the stitches. So that's totally free. That's over on the site if you want to give any of this a try. It's also comes as a kit like this too. So I just wove in the ends right where I left off another 3 times. It's getting a little bit bulky here, but that's okay. So 1, 2, 3 times weaving in, and that's how I start without a knot. So this is totally secure. I can pull on this. It's not going to move anywhere. You don't want to pull too much because I don't want to I don't want to pull on these stitches too much, but there we go. I can just start. So that's starting without the knot. So I have no knots on the back. Oh, it's in my profile. It's penguinandfish.com, but it's right in my profile. So clicking over, you'll get right to our TikTok page on the site, and that should have a link to the free pattern, and it'll have a link to this pattern too, I think. This is our embroidery of the month. Get a new embroidery every month. Oh, thank you. All right, continuing with that reverse chain stitch. I know this is a little bit different than instructions. The instructions has just the normal chain stitch. This is the reverse chain stitch. Just because it's fun. So I'm doing these little baby stitches around this tight curve again. That's kind of my typical thing no matter what stitch I'm doing. I do do smaller stitches around tight curves like that. Gosh, we only got like 2 little loops done with that one thing of floss. So chain stitch does take quite a bit of floss. Only this is the only part that's chain stitch though, this little squiggle in the middle. The normal chain stitch, the not reverse kind, the normal kind, there is a fast way to do that. Oops, I think I might have got a knot. Yep, oh, there, it just twisted a little. This is a little slower than doing the normal chain stitch when you just go in and out in the same motion. But this is easier because it's just easier to deal with the floss when it's not flopping everywhere. Anywho. It's one of my favorites. You guys, it was a 2-kitty walk today. We count the number of cats that we see on the walks, because that's important, right? So it was a 2-kitty walk. We saw a little black kitty with a bell on walking around outside today. That was kind of funny. He was cute. That's like on TikTok. I don't know if you guys have seen that guy that just walks around and all the cats in the neighborhood, like 10 different cats in the neighborhood, come up and say hi to him along the walk. I needed to live in a neighborhood like that. That would be fun. I found out last weekend that, oh, Kathy is saying, I learned so much using the raccoon sampler. Ugh, that's awesome. That's so good to hear. That makes me super happy. Yeah, and you guys let me know if there's another stitch you'd like to do. We can definitely add more stitches to like blog posts and that sort of thing too. And add other stitches to these embroidery of the months. I mean, we've done some other ones. We've done that thread painting. We've done that whipped backstitch. That one was kind of cool. We could bring that one back. Do that again. I haven't done blog posts on either of those. That'd be fun to do, or do a dedicated video for it. I thought we did another one that isn't in my usual thing too. I don't remember. But yeah, if there's any other stitch you want to know, let me know. Around the town, how long would this take to finish? This is probably going to take me about 5 hours. That's my guess. Maybe it'll go to 6. If it's your first time doing it, it'll take a little bit longer, but that's totally fine. I'm on purpose staying on top of it, trying to get through it quickly, versus just totally chilling with it. I'll be doing this live every day this week, Monday through Friday at 8:30 p.m. Central Time for an hour each day. So I'm hoping that by Friday we will be just about done. Oops. Finger got caught there, almost pulled my thread out. But yeah, and all these videos are going to be on YouTube as well, so they can be referred back to. Ooh, this one we got a little bit farther. Got around another loop here. Ooh, I think I got another knot. I'm gonna have to keep an eye on that. These are just those loopy knots. If I get another one, this one's a little close to the top, but if I get another one, I'll show you an easy way to get rid of them. This one's there. There, we got it. Just when the thread twists around itself on the back, you can get those little knots. They're super annoying, but there is a trick to get them out, so if we get another one, I'll show you. Maybe I'll just attempt to, like, on purpose try and get one. I don't know if I can do that, but we'll see. Oh, the wagon wheel stitch. Okay. Yeah, we should just make a list of other stitches that you guys want to do. Wagon wheel. Ooh, Gretchen says, wouldn't this be adorable on a white sweatshirt? Ugh, that would be so much fun. I do want to stitch onto a sweatshirt. I have a sweatshirt, a dark blue sweatshirt, that I was going to get rid of, but I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll just stitch something onto it, and then I'll want to wear it. So I have kind of a sweatshirt on deck that I want to stitch onto, but I don't know what to stitch onto it. So we'll have to decide sometime. I'll go grab that, and maybe we'll have to do like a couple Saturday stitch-alongs or something. Oh, you made it to embroidery TikTok. Yes. Good place to be to chill. Just chill. It's funny, the moment you like one embroidery TikToker, then your whole feed will be embroidery TikTok. I follow like a few people now. So embroidery pops up quite a bit for me, which is awesome. Quilting and embroidery, and I'm lately getting a lot of crochet TikTok on mine. That's fun. Oh, thanks, Catherine. Catherine says, hello, everyone. I love this design. I'm really liking this, too. I want to do more of these kind of mandala ones. I think that's fun. All right, I think I can get, let's see how much thread. And this is going to be my last one. I'll do one more. Getting greedy. Yeah, I'm barely gonna have enough floss to weave in the end, but we're gonna give it a go. All right, let's flip her to the back. So I'm gonna weave in these ends again. I'm doing the no knot on the back embroidery. So instead of tying a knot, I'm weaving back and forth 3 times, and that kind of locks it all in place. Grabbing as many different threads on each pass. If you guys don't have enough thread to go 3, you can try this trick. I mean, I do have just enough to do 3, but if you go with the eye of the needle instead of the point, you can sometimes get through another pass without it falling out of the needle there. But all right, there we go, and we can just trim this excess away, and you can trim like right up to the floss. So there's our no knot embroidery there. All right, here we are. Okay, I'm just gonna keep going with this white, I think, tonight. So this is probably all we'll get done. Let's see, it's 9 o'clock, 9:08. Gosh, I'm not even quite halfway done. So yeah, I'm just gonna finish, well, I don't know. We're gonna get as far on this white as I can, and then tomorrow we'll probably start doing all the back stitch, all the rest of this. Oh, and we got like the little lazy daisies here. We'll get some of that. Okay, here's my white again. I'm gonna get about 24 inches, 2 feet or so. Any more than that, and you're gonna give yourself just shoulder pain. And actually, if you like, the instinct, at least this was my instinct when I started, was just to get a really long piece, because then I wouldn't have to change, I wouldn't have to do the needle, I wouldn't have to like start it up fresh each time. I could just stitch for longer. But it actually wears on the thread a lot. So the friction of the floss having to go in and out of the fabric all the time is rubbing on the floss, so that just kind of weakens it. So it's better to just have a shorter piece. I'm doing about 24 inches here. Now we're separating those 3 strands from the 6. This design is stitched with 3 strands, and embroidery floss typically comes with 6 strands that are loosely wound together. And if you just grab one strand at a time and just through your fingers, you can just zoop, pull it out. And it looks like a jumbled mess, but it's actually all together just fine. You can run your fingers through it and your piece is fine. And then you have these 3 pieces here. I set that one piece to the side for later. We'll need it. And I'm gonna put these 3 ends together and just run my hand through there, and we're good to go. All right, you can snip the end here, but I think I'll be able to thread it. So I'm just gonna go for it, using that pinch method again. There we go. Okay, I left off there, so I'm gonna weave in the end there, and we'll just keep going. So I always go kind of towards, for the first pass of the 3, I go towards where I'm gonna start. So this is my start point, so I'm starting back a little, and I'm going towards it for my first first out of 3 passes. 1, and I can leave a little end here. I can trim that off. Okay, that's 2. So after the 2 passes, like I can still pull that thread sometimes. Oh, that's pretty locked in, but sometimes it'll still pull the back thread out. So that's why I go through the 3rd time. That kind of really locks it in. In this case, it seemed to be fine after 2. But I'm going to trim that off. I don't need that excess. There we go. All right. Let's continue. Reverse backstitch. Where do you find tiny crystals? Oh, Christy, I think I must be missing part of your conversation. I don't want to know where you can find tiny crystals. Oh, Sharon. Oh, you had to pull out the going around the little bits. Oh, do you have a photo? Sharon says, I had a terrible time going around the circled areas, even doing the reverse chain stitch. Oh, you might pull it out and redo. I would love to see, like, if you throw a photo up in the Penguin and Fish Crafters group, I'd love to take a look. Tight curves with certain stitches, including the chain stitch, can be, a little bit not the prettiest, cleanest thing. Like you can see here, like this little stitch is kind of trying to fall over onto the next stitch. I'm just going to kind of try and push it back a little bit. You can try tacking those down, so let's give that a try. Yeah, I could do that. I'll do that on the next one. We could try tacking it down so that that loop stays in place. I think it'll give us the effect of not having too much trouble with these round curves. I think that might work. I think someone mentioned that last time when we gave it a try. Yeah, with the oak leaf we did that around a tight curve or a point or something. We added a little extra anchor stitch just because it looked like all the stitches were wanting to fall towards the center. I'll give that a try on this next little tight one. I suppose we could have done it right here too, but I'll try that on the next tight one. One thing, I don't think this is the problem that you're talking about, but just in general, this is for anyone who's doing a chain stitch or like a lazy daisy stitch for the first time. These big loops are going to be our lazy daisy stitches. Remember to keep them loose or lazy. You don't want to pull this stitch as tight as you can or anything like that. We on purpose want to leave it kind of loose. That gives it the teardrop shape. So not all stitches have to be pulled really tight. You can leave really loose stitches and they can be pretty too. So I'm keeping on turning the whole piece here just so it's comfortable in my hand. I like having my left hand on the back just to feel where the stitches go through and stuff. So like I can actually feel the floss running past my finger here. I always keep my finger just like right at where it's coming through, the point where it's coming through. And I actually move the floss out of the way and hold it out of the way while I'm doing the next stitch. So I'm actually doing the next stitch while holding that floss away. And that helps me keep from getting knots too. Chris is asking, what will you do with this work when it's done? Oh, new to your channel. Do you sell it? I sell kits. I don't sell finished versions. I do sell the embroidery kits. I've just been racking up embroideries. Sometimes I'll make them into bags. Lately, we've been making a lot of zipper pouches where the embroidery is on the front. That's what we did with our last embroidery. We do an embroidery every month, at least. So this is this month's embroidery of the month. Last month, we did some oak leaves, and those we turned into a cute zipper pouch. I've done tote bags. Sometimes we'll make them into like little pillows. I know some people are doing a whole pile of them and turning them into a quilt. Oh, sometimes I put them on. I have one on my jean jacket here, a little heart on my sleeve there. So this was done on fabric like this, and then I just stitch it. Like if you look closely at the side, you can see a little bit of that fabric there, but I just stitched it onto my shirt. So they make good patches. This one's probably not a great patch because it's not really filled in, but you could still applique it or stitch it onto something else, if you kind of just blooped around the edge. And a lot of them just sit around until I decide to do something with them. All right, so here's where I wanted to try and do that extra little tack, because this is a tight curve, and with chain stitch, sometimes the loops want to fall over onto the next stitch, and I can show you what I mean by that. So let's let this do that. So if I pull too tight, this stitch is going to want to fall down, like it's going to want to travel down over the last stitch, and that's not as pretty. We get all these it's just kind of a jumbled mess there. So I'm going to push it up. I need more slack there. Okay, I'm going to push it back up. I'm just going to loosen it again, and I'm going to get it kind of in the position that I want. And now I'm going to come up on the inside of that loop. Come on. All right, well, I'm not on the inside yet, but I'm in a good position. So now I'm going to get on the inside. There we go. Now I'm on the inside of the loop. I can kind of stretch it where I want it, and I'm just going to tack make a tiny stitch right on the other side of the loop. And here I got one of those knots here. Hold on, there we go. There, so I've tacked down that loop, and you can hardly see, there's my tiny little tack. But now that loop is going to stay in place. It's never going to fall over onto this previous stitch because I've tacked it down. So, Sharon, that might be what you need to do around these tight curves, so those loops stay in place. Because now, I can go freely in there to do my other stitches, and we got that tiny. I mean, you can see that tiny little tack, but just barely, and it's going to keep my loop in place. So that's if I had to guess. I'll take a look at your photo that you post too, but if I had to guess, that's probably the problem. So tacking, doing that little tack might be what can help. And I'm probably actually going to do that for every one of these other small ones. I think that was a good idea. Oh, thank you so much, Chris. I'm one of these days, maybe I will just do a sample sale or something of all of these embroideries, because I do have a bin of a lot of these finished embroideries that I haven't done anything with yet. Mostly it's because I hanging on to them in case I need to take more photos for product photos or something. So in my case, I kind of just leave them undone. I don't make them into everything. I mean, luckily now I usually have 2 a month because I do the sample one for the cover of the embroidery kit, and then then I do one live here. So I usually have 2, which is great because I can keep one in case I need photos for some reason, and then the second one, this one, we can do whatever with, and that's usually the one that we turn into a bag or a zipper pouch. So yeah, what should we make out of this one? I haven't thought that far ahead. I'm so much about the process with crafting. This is the whole thing with doilies. I love crocheting. I haven't done it in a while, but I love crocheting doilies using the same pattern that my grandma used. They take ages and ages and ages because I'm using the smallest thread and the smallest needles or hooks and all this. But I just love the process, but I don't put doilies anywhere. So right now I have like just a bin of doilies. Like I'm just storing these doilies. Someday I'll figure out something to do with them, but I just like the process. So a lot of times I'll start doing an embroidery like this without having a real end game. Other times I know that, oh, this would be a really cute patch, or like sometimes I do have an agenda. Like I do want to I do want to make an embroidery on that sweatshirt that I've been saving. So I do want to do that. Just have to pick an embroidery to do. I think that's kind of what's keeping me from doing it, is just having to decide on an embroidery. Whereas this way I know what embroidery I'm doing and I just need to decide what to do with it afterwards. I'm sure getting a lot of tote bags and zipper pouches though lately, so we'll have to think of something else. Something else that we can make out of this guy. This one I might just leave in the hoop, so you can also just frame them in the hoop. You can actually decorate your embroidery hoop too. I have this guy nearby. So this is one that I decorated the embroidery hoop with a pile of pom-poms. I mean, this one looks a little crazy, but like, so you could make like a little hanging wreath or something out of pom-poms, where you actually reuse the embroidery hoop for that. So I don't know, maybe I'll do like not quite as garish one as that. Oops, I accidentally pulled the thread out of the needle. Let's rethread that. I'm gonna snip a new end here. I always accidentally take the needle off at about this point when I have this much left. All right, finish that stitch. How are we doing on time? I don't think I'm gonna quite finish all these loop-de-loops tonight. So I usually go for about an hour here, so theoretically in about 7 minutes or so we'll wrap it up. So I would like to get around this loop. We'll easily be able to finish all of the rest of our little white loop-de's tomorrow, so then we can start on these like phalanges that come out. I'm sure there's these crystals, these whatever. I'm sure there's some scientific term for that. Now I need to know. Anyone know what the scientific term for like these crystal particles coming out of a snowflake? Ugh, now I need to know all the anatomy of snowflakes. There's gotta be terms for it all. All right, so I'm going around this little tight curve again. I will add that little anchor stitch, and I think we're gonna have just enough floss to get around. So this is great. So we'll end the floss and we'll start up fresh tomorrow with a new piece of floss. So didn't quite make it all the way around, but I think this is a pretty good start. I suspect this is probably one of the longest parts of the process, is this chain stitch around. The rest is basically back stitch. We have some French knots thrown around, and then these cute little lazy daisies. We'll do those as we're doing the back stitches, and then these circles we'll fill in. We'll probably do that last. Little satin stitch circles. All right, so this next stitch is the one that we're gonna tack down, because this next stitch is the one that's probably gonna fall over onto the previous stitches. All right, so I'm gonna actually kind of hold it, try and keep it in place up here. Actually, you know what? I can probably come up, before I pull it tight, I can come up right where I wanna tack it down at. So there we go. There, that finishes our stitch, and I'm up here now, and I can just add that tack right away, that tiny little anchoring stitch on the other side of the loop. Ha-ha, perfect. That's excellent. That's gonna work great. It's totally hidden up there. You can barely see it. And now that loop will totally stay in place. Ooh, that's gonna be my normal repertoire from now on. I'm on all these tight curves, I'm gonna add those little anchor stitches. That's good. Yeah. That's not my normal. That's not. I don't think about doing that right away every time, but now I'm doing it. We're gonna practice it on this one, adding those anchor stitches on those tight curves, and that's gonna be my thing from now on those, for sure. All right. I think this is gonna be my last stitch. Almost out of floss here. All right, let's weave that in on the back. Again, I'm doing the no knots. I'm weaving in all my ends. The biggest reason for that is I think it gives you a cleaner back. And the reason it gives you a cleaner back, I suspect, this is my hunch, is that there's no knots hanging out that like I'm accidentally going to catch my thread on like this, like if there's a hidden knot over here, and then I keep stitching and then I don't realize, I had this giant loop on the back this whole time because I got caught on a knot. Also, knots, it'll have the little end of the knot. So you have the knot and then the tiny little bit of the floss end, just like a little bit. I swear, anytime I stitch, I pull those threads to the front when I stitch, and that is so freaking annoying. 1, 2, this is the third one. I go 3 times weaving it. So this gets rid of that having those little floss ends. Because I can snip this. After weaving it in 3 times, I can snip it way close to the end like that, or close to the floss. So there we go. All clean and pretty. So that's the back, and then the front has our pretty, let's flip it around, our pretty little chain stitch going. And I love that you can see where like this part's behind and then it loops around and then it comes over to the front. You can see, like, especially on this one, I think it just gives that nice dimension. So I think this is the prettiest part of the whole thing, is this loop around the inside. So this one, this will probably take 1 piece of floss, the floss we have left from splitting the floss here. So we're all ready to go for tomorrow. We'll have our thread here. And then we can add a bunch of the color. Here's the other colors for this. It's mostly this pretty blue here, this winter morning blue. And again, here's our final one, what it's going to look like. Here's, like this. It says Winter Love on the inside there. And I'm super excited to be starting this with you guys again here. All right, so I think that is what we will do. Oh, here, let's scooch this. Sorry, little ways that way. So this is the project for the week, you guys. We'll be working on this embroidery for the next 4 days after today, and based on today's rate, I think we will be done by Friday. Maybe Thursday? I don't know. Maybe that's putting that out there too much. Like, maybe it's more like a 5-hour project instead of the 4 hours. But like getting this chain stitch part almost done like makes me think like, ooh, maybe this will go kind of quick. But yeah, so we'll have to decide something to do with this. We'll have that last week to kind of play around a little bit to turn it into something. So that'd be kind of fun. Could even make like a little ornament or something out of it somehow, maybe. Ooh, I don't know. I'm gonna have to think about it. Ooh, yeah, we could maybe cut it out as the shape and put like batting in, and then do like the shape behind and turn it right side out and have like a soft ornament. That could be kind of cool. Anyway, we'll figure that out. But we should do something with it when we're done. So awesome. Thank you guys again for joining me. We'll be working on this tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. Central Time. We'll be finishing up that white chain stitch. All right, have a wonderful rest of your Monday, and I'll see you tomorrow. Good night. hey, we're using 3 strands of floss for this. I can hang out here a little bit more with you guys. Here we go. I'm just ending, there we go, I ended this